We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our ever-growing channel. Smash that like button. If you like our content, share the video with your family, share it with your friends, your priest, your psychiatrist, your cat and your dog. Welcome into the corner house that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kirk Gowdy Avenue. Don't be scared. Come on in. You know how this works. We do a monologue. We go to the comments section, and then we open up the phone lines. The lines are not open right now. I will let you know when the lines are open. I think tonight's going to be a long one. I think we're going to get plenty of phone calls. This was already a stacked show. Before we even got to the breaking news, Big Ten, new commissioner, Tony Petitti. Tony Petitti, new commissioner of the Big Ten, broke the Pete Thamel, ESPN, Brett McMurphy, and others breaking the news. Tony Petitti, and I actually think I might be pronouncing this gentleman's last name correctly. Petitti, Tony Petitti. Holy smokes. We have got so much to get to tonight. And I don't even know where to begin. First of all, let's begin with our great sponsor for tonight's live show. Welcome to Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters. We invite you to discover the Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters difference. Clean, hot air, roasted coffee produces a smoother, richer, healthier coffee that is less bitter and less acidic. The Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters difference. Our hot air roasted coffee uses convection heat to loft the beans for a very even heat transfer. The clean, bright taste that people rave about is achieved by roasting the bean quickly and evenly while suspended on a bed of hot air. From craft to cup, hand-picked coffee beans. There's a link provided in the description box. Check it out. Check the website out. Order a bag of coffee. Go with the Blue Moon Bali. Get that coffee. That's the smoothest, best coffee the wife and I have ever had. There's hints of cherry and chocolate, and I think some walnuts in there. Give it a try. And if you want to support this YouTube channel, this independent YouTube channel, please put PATC in the comments section. We thank you so very much. In the website of Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters, the best coffee the little General and I have ever had. We also go to the link provided to our new merch store at Peek Around the Corner. Get your official PATC mug, because during the live shows in the chat room, it's very important that you follow these words and you put your favorite beverage, be it tea, be it coffee, Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters, or maybe a little bit of beer, tequila, whiskey. Make sure you follow the rules. Anytime I say cloak and dagger, okay, let's get now, this is one of these shows where nice to see you, Randy Taylor, Daniel, appreciate you all coming in. Maria Flugar, por favor, please, thanks. The moderator, she rules with the iron fist, the little General. Thank you, Christopher Shannon, for popping in. Lewis Pop, Matthew Farmer, Curtis Brown, RW, Holy Smokes, Tough Tony, K-Do, Buckshot Kid. Everybody is in the house. I say keep climbing in. This is one of these live shows that we're going to have to pay attention to breaking news. Even we got this huge breaking news, but we need to pay attention to Twitter as we go through tonight's show. So if something pops, if somebody has a certain take or angle when it comes to Tony Petitti, we're going to get to it. We're going to talk about it. First of all, let's discuss who this gentleman is. Tony Petitti is the former president of sports and entertainment of Activision Blizzard. He was formerly the chief operating officer of Major League Baseball. He succeeded Rob Manfred in the position on January 25th, 2015, after Manfred became commissioner of baseball. He previously served as the president and chief executive officer of MLB Network, where he oversaw all the network's day-to-day operations. What hasn't Tony done? I'm not sure. Let's look at his career. I think he's done everything. Petitti attended Harvard College, where he majored in economics before attending Harvard Law School. He worked for 2 years at the law firm of Colliwater, Wickersham, and Taft before joining ABC Sports in 1988 as a general attorney. After being named vice president of programming, where he was responsible for acquiring and scheduling ABC Sports programming, he was hired by CBS in 1977 as senior vice president of business affairs and programming. In 2005, Petitti was named executive vice president, CBS Sports, and responsible for all day-to-day operations of CBS Sports, where he was largely responsible for the network's NFL coverage. Holy smokes. MLB Network, operating officer of Major League Baseball, responsible for network's NFL coverage. And he says, basically, I'm responsible for everything you see on Sunday. And there's more to it, but those are the big points there. I just wanted to start off by saying, who is this gentleman? What kind of experience does he have? And to be honest with you, he's got it all. He's got it all. Now, again, since we heard it was Tony Petitti as the new commissioner of the Big Ten, You can imagine the phone's blowing up, taking a call or two. Let's get into what other people believe about Tony Petitti. Just give me 1 second. Again, things are breaking as we're discussing all this. Just hold 1 second. This is Stuart Mandel, about 18 minutes ago. For a group of people who continually claim they don't want college athletics to be professionalized, university presidents sure seem to like hiring pro sports executives as their commissioners. And then let's look at his next tweet, shall we? Stuart Mandel. The interesting thing about the Big Ten hiring a former TV exec is that theoretically, the TV stuff is behind them for 7 years. Unless, of course, you're planning to add more schools, cough, cough, Oregon and Washington, and need to package another rights deal sooner. The interesting thing about the Big Ten hiring a former TV exec is that theoretically, the TV stuff is behind them, correct? Right? Kevin Warren struck the deal, CBS, NBC, of course, Fox Sports, Peacock, 16 schools going into 2024, although they haven't decided on a schedule yet for 2024. They haven't even decided which school gets who as a permanent rival beginning in 2024. They haven't even really made the concrete decision if they're staying at 9 conference games or going to 10 conference games for 2024. If Stuart Mandel is saying this, other people are thinking this. Am I wrong? Am I right? What do you all think? Whoops. I think it's pretty interesting. I think a couple of different things happen here. First of all, Greg Pflugar and Peek Around the Corner was wrong. Incorrect. We thought the new Big Ten commissioner was going to be announced, whatever, signed, sealed, delivered, announced, and start his job sometime in May. Maybe early May, but we were thinking middle of May. We were wrong. So when it was reported this morning and yesterday that the new Big Ten commissioner could be announced by the end of this week, I was absolutely floored. And then we hear that the new Big Ten commissioner is a former, I don't even like to use the word former because he's been doing it for so long in so many places. MLB, NFL, come on. A TV executive as your Big Ten commissioner once again, Tony Petitti is the new Big Ten commissioner? What? I'm just throwing out questions, ladies and gentlemen. What was it in those meetings with the Big Ten presidents and Tony Petitti? What made the Big Ten presidents interested in Tony Petitti? What words were exchanged? What was on Tony Petitti's resume that made those Big Ten presidents say, yes, we want this person? Was it because Tony Petitti had a long resume experience in being on schools' campuses and figuring out Title IX legislation and NIL rules? And no. No, I don't know, guys. I think this is. We know we don't want to go over our skis too much here, but we do know that that the Big Ten expansion door is considered cracked open at this time. And I just want to reiterate something. I just want to say something for one more time, just to clear things up. The Big Ten, lots of different hurdles to overcome if they want to expand at this time. If they want to grab an Oregon and Washington. But I just want to make this very, very clear. Kevin Warren wasn't the only person in the Big Ten leadership that wanted further expansion. Some don't. But others do. And for the reasons we've laid out here, Peek Around the Corner, and yes, I get raked over the coals constantly. I'm okay with that. I got the tracks on my back. I'm fine with that. But there are reasons for it, because the Big Ten at some point is going to push east. And if they're going to push east, they're going to have to push west once again. And what is the best time to do it? It may be now. It may be not now, but it may be now. Look at what the Pac-12, they have a lot of issues at their plate. Right now, there's a media market depression. Let's go right into Dennis Dodd's article of today. And then we'll get back to Tony Petitti. We'll get to your comments. And then we're going to hit the phone lines hard, because I want to know what you guys are thinking about the new Big Ten Commissioner, Tony Petitti. What does it mean in your eyes? Why did the Big Ten presidents hire Tony Petitti? What made him stand out? Dennis Dodd, earlier this morning. Pac-12 discusses small package of games with the CW as it competes with Major League dollars. The latest news in realignment is magic. That is, if you believe Chris Angel's magic with the Stars is a proper lead into major college football. That's the kind of foundational programming featured on the CW, a broadcast network that specializes in ratings giants such as World's Funniest Animals and Goes Wrong Show. Dennis Dodd kind of making fun of the CW potentially being a part of the Pac-12 negotiations. Back to the article. The CW has been in discussions with the Pac-12 as a linear partner in the league's much scrutinized new media rights deal. Multiple sources confirmed to CBS Sports, however. Sources also say those discussions were weeks ago and only regarding what was described as a small package of games. So the discussions were weeks ago, and it was only for a small package of games. And according to SBJ, Sports Business Journal reporting from John Oran, there is very little chance that CW is going to get any part of the Pac-12 package. So my question to you all is, who's actually going to be the linear network partner of the Pac-12? That also gets asked here in this article. Back to the article. A 10-team Pac-12 has about 65 to 70 games per year to sell. Nearly 9 months news broke of USC and UCLA leaving for the Big Ten. The conference hasn't been able to find a buyer or buyers. The conference hasn't been able to find a buyer. Think about that. It's back to the article. It's just not a market to be a seller of major college sports rights at this particular moment. said Patrick Crakes, a programming expert, media consultant, and former senior vice president of Fox Sports. That doesn't necessarily mean a deal won't get done, but a lingering question remains: who is going to carry Pac-12 games beginning in 2024? And that begs even a bigger question: what kind of deal can the league get? CBS Sports previously reported the wait could be months. Months. Media consultant Jim Williams, who's been hammering on this story, doing a great job. Media consultant Jim Williams told CBS Sports last week he was high in the CW as well as ION as broadcast options for the Pac-12. The Athletic reported recent discussions between the Pac-12 and the CW. The CW owns stations in Chicago, New York, Dallas, Tampa Bay, key areas beyond the West Coast where the Pac-12 could have penetration. The Pac-12 would also have the advantage of being able to produce those games. The league has infrastructure left over from the Pac-12 networks, which is expected to cease operations when the current deal expires in 2024. Basically, the Pac-12, they have the fiber optics at every one of those campuses, Williams said. They're wired already. The ability to produce these games is a huge advantage the conference has in negotiating any deal. That's a huge benefit for whoever it is. If you're CW or ION or any other combination of those two, the fact you don't have to send a production team to wherever is a huge plus. Very good point. Williams suggested that the infrastructure may open a door to another option for a Pac-12 deal, something all in with Apple. That's what Major League Soccer is doing this season. At the start of the 10-year deal, some of those games are sub-licensed to Fox. That gives the MLS a presence on linear, traditional broadcast and cable, in addition to streaming. Another industry source says the MLS deal might be the blueprint for the Pac-12. If so, that would explain why the negotiations are taking so long. It would be the first of its kind for a Power 5 conference. There are ways to do this, Williams said, if you get creative. ION, in 37 of the top 50 markets, is on both DirecTV and Dish Network, which might have been the difference in whether the Pac-12 networks had survived. Former Commissioner Larry Scott's failure to clear distribution on DirecTV is a big reason he is no longer with the league. ION's parent company, Scripps Company, launched a sports division last year. Crakes doubts the viability of a deal with a station group or lower profile network like the CW. In general, those stations are not going to be as quality as a partner as an established linear cable station when it comes to rights fees. They're not as diversified as other larger legacy media, which means they can't support major rights fees allocations. The significant sports media properties like the Pac-12 need to survive. Also consider 80% of modern media rights deals come from pay TV, linear cable. Though problem with linear cable is declining subscriber numbers. Plus, streaming as a revenue-generating entity for major sports at scale hasn't hit yet. It hasn't. We don't know when that's going to hit. When does streaming become a revenue generator for major sports? It hasn't hit yet. Is it a few years down the line? Is it 10 years down the line? That highlights the difficult situation which the Pac-12 finds itself. Crakes foresees a media rights deal landscape under extreme stress because the free running tap of money that gushed before has now been slow to a trickle. We talked about that all the way back in October 30th. The media market recession has hit. There will be competition in the market like the upcoming NBA and UFC contracts that will impact cable giants ESPN's decisions. Also on the table is college football playoff expansion, which many expect to wind up across multiple networks, and the WWE, NBC, Universal, and Fox. The college football expansion to 12 teams will lead to multiple bidders in a Super Bowl-like process. Where does the Pac-12 fit? Especially if it has to park significant content on a streaming partner. If you're the Pac-12 and you're looking at an Oregon State versus Washington State the first week of November, that would do about 650 to 800,000 viewers on FS1. Say hello to 250 to 500 viewers on a streamer, Craig said. I don't care who that streamer is. That's the math of it. The Pac-12 has got a problem on its hands. That's the first of the two money shots in this article. That's the math of it. The Pac-12 has got a problem on its hands. Craig also believes the Pac-12 will eventually do a deal with ESPN or another established linear partner. To get a deal done, he really believes that the Pac-12 needs to get a deal with ESPN or let's say a Fox. And this is interesting. He doesn't see much value in the Big 12 expanding with the Pac-12 teams at present. If that sounds confusing, it should be. It all folds in with the Pac-12 deal taking this long. I believe that he really believes that this media market is shrunk. There is no money out there, and maybe the Big 12 should not expand as well with Pac-12 schools. Back to the article. CBS Sports reported long ago, as last summer, that the Big 12 had engaged with multiple Pac-12 schools about joining their league. We know that's going on. We reported it at Peek Around the Corner. We were told that we were lying about it, that we were part of an endeavor plot. But that's been going on for a long time, ladies and gentlemen. Discussions going on. Things are getting hot. Watch Colorado, as Andrew Machon reported, and others. Back to the article. We're almost done. The issue still comes down to visibility versus dollars. How much visibility on linear TV does the Pac-12 trade for the dollars it needs to keep some members from jumping to the Big 12? That number is one of the most closely guarded secrets in college sports. Schools officials aren't saying or just don't know at this point. And finally, the Pac-12 continues to be trapped in an age of transition from a runaway media rights to a direct-to-consumer model. And here's the money shot number 2. There remains no clear linear partner for the Pac-12 at the moment. No clear. There's no favorite. There's no one leading in the clubhouse. There is no chalk. There is no linear network that is going to be anyone is saying that they're the leader right now in getting the Pac-12 rights at this moment. And that is why you're seeing reports out there saying they're still months away from a deal because they're not even close to having a deal. Pac-12, we've been saying it for months here at Peek Around the Corner. Those Pac-12 presidents have yet to see a comprehensive deal in front of them. When others were reporting that the Pac-12 has received this deal and that deal for this amount of money, for that amount of money, we've been telling you they don't have anything at all. They haven't even gotten to that point yet. That is where they are, and the frustration, the sources that we talk to, things are so hot right now. Cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger. Keep your head on a swivel here. Starting tonight, put your head on an extreme swivel. And if you're new to this channel, subscribe to this channel. We could be popping up on here any time. We could close out this live stream, come straight back on. We could be doing episodes anytime tomorrow, live show anytime tomorrow. That's how sensitive and hot it is right now. The Pac-12, we told you this in a couple live shows ago, we actually did receive some numbers that the ESPN and Fox offered the Pac-12. Those numbers are too low. And they can't work with those numbers. George Kliavkoff can't get a media contract done with those numbers. He can't do it. He can't present it to the presidents. So he's scrambling around for other linear networks, trying to cobble enough linear network coverage to get 10 Pac-12 presidents to sign on the dotted line. And obviously, he has failed to do so. I know there's a lot of steam. There's a lot of steam coming out of Arizona. There's some steam coming out of Washington. There's steam everywhere. So hang with us here at Peek Around the Corner. Let's get to your comments. Let's get to your phone calls. Big show tonight. We're going to be here all night long. As long as you guys want to talk about it. New Big Ten Commissioner, Tony Petitti. That's your guy. That is your new Big Ten Commissioner. Flugar. Greg nailed it. I don't know what I nailed. I got it wrong, ladies and gentlemen. I got it wrong. We never said who the Big Ten Commissioner was going to be. We had no clue, no intel. We said that over and over again anytime anybody asked on a show. But we thought the announcement was going to be, or the person was going to start the job in middle of May. Yes, we will do that, Daniel. We will get some sort of beer products cozy in our stores. Absolutely, shot glasses. Petitti Martini. The Petey Martini. Any news on the Big Ten football schedule? Great question, Jonathan Weaver. Nah, we're not. I don't know when we're going to get news on they got their commissioner now. The Big Ten's got their commissioner. A TV executive. The phone lines aren't open yet, ladies and gentlemen. Phone lines are not open yet. We'll open them up real soon. I know everybody wants to call. We'll get to you. Patrick is saying, welcome home, Colorado. Do I have to start practicing Rocky Mountain High? Do I have to start practicing singing Rocky Mountain High to the point where I do not make all of your guys' ears bleed? I don't know. I think we're almost there, ladies and gentlemen. Lee says he thinks Petitti will be Kevin Warren 2.0 without the loose lips. That's a good way of putting it. Roman Maroney, this is great news. Who's Tony Petitti? Man, he's done everything. Woo! MLB, NFL Network. Wow. Red Lake says Petitti was a home run hire. Again, let me know in the comments and let me know in the phone calls that's going to start in a few minutes. Why do you think what was said in those interviews that made the Big Ten presidents decide that Tony Petitti was their man, was their person? What was it? What was it? I need to know. Give me your thoughts. Give me your comments. What is it about it? Sean Eaton says it's Oregon and Washington to the Big Ten. Peter Johnson says it's more expansion. Sean says expansion is imminent. Says, say it, Greg. Say it. You know what? I'm not going to say that, but I will say that the expansion doors cracked open. We've been set it for a month, and I got raked over the coals enough just saying that. And when I said that Kevin Warren was the number one hurdle for Big Ten expansion, now he's leaving, I stand by that 100%. There are other hurdles. Big Ten, they need to get the votes. They need to figure out when's the best time to expand west, because at some point they're going to expand east. years down the road. Is it best to do it now to go to the West? Or should they wait and take the West with the East years down the line? Again, the phone lines are not open yet. Hold on, everybody. Vincent Paterno, this is the time to capitalize on Pac chaos. Bring in Washington and Oregon, then wait and see if Cal or Stanford show they're serious about big-time sports. Rebecca, Miss Washington Huskies. I could tell something I heard through the grapevine. Rebecca has some information. She's back in the house. Observer 46. Why does the hiring of Tony Petitti indicate Big Ten expansion? Unless you take it for granted that expansion was only awaiting a commissioner, and it did not matter who that was, it did not matter who. That has never been the case. Lewis Pop answers, Observer, the presidents didn't like Warren, so they waited until they got a new commissioner. And I got to tell you, we were not the only ones here at Peek Around the Corner that were thrown for a loop that the hiring, that they named it this early. They named it before April 17th. This is early. I know that they had Turnkey helping them out, consulting them. And they had a list of candidates because of prior Turnkey consultant work with other Power 5 conferences. But still, this is early. They got this done quick. Is there a special reason why they got this done quick? Or they just wanted to have someone in as Kevin Warren walked out the door? Or is there some other reason? Is that cracked open, getting cracked a little bit farther open? Garrett Raver, Oregon's just chilling in the corner. Tony says, say no to California, Stanford. Ryan Martin, the bit about presidents having numbers matches up with Jason Scheer has been saying for a while. They received numbers and certain offers from certain networks. To be more specific, they had discussions around certain numbers with ESPN and Fox, and those numbers are extremely, extremely low. But they haven't received a comprehensive deal like if Fox took the second-ranked games and Tier 2 games and ESPN took the Tier 1 games, they don't have a comprehensive offer that has ESPN with Tier 1, Fox Tier 2, and then what streaming component, who's going to take those games and how much. Because quite honestly, Apple TV wouldn't be interested in that type of deal. And I don't think Amazon would be either. They don't have a cobbled together comprehensive plan in front of them because there is nothing there for the presidents to sign. There's nothing to hash out because the offers have come in so low. So they have numbers, yes. Do they have official package ready for them to hash out and sign off on if everyone can agree with it? No, they have never received that. Rebecca says, for anyone that thinks Stanford and Cal don't care about sports, they need to look at the remodeling of the athletic facilities they've done. They absolutely care. They're just very chill about it. Okay, let's get to your phone calls. Again, I can't give that number. I cannot give those numbers. I have an ESPN number and a Fox. I can't give them. I can't do it. But you can take it. You can. They're not close. They're not close what they need to be. So, but I cannot give those specific numbers. Okay, let's get to your phone calls. I know there's a lot of phone calls. Phone lines are not open quite yet. 763-260-1333. The phone lines should be now open right now. Right now, give us a call. I know we've gotten a few calls. Give us another try. Who's ever calling us, give us another try. Seven 763-260-1333.
Call from
Ryan Martin.
Ryan Martin is in the house. Big news. Tony Petitti. Wow. What's going on, sir? The floor is yours.
You know, something that you just said a couple of minutes ago. I'm sorry. Where are my manners? How are you doing this evening?
Good. I'm doing good. Don't worry about the manners. Don't worry about the manners. Let's rock and roll.
All right. You said that Turnkey was helping the Big Ten hire. They were helping with the search for their new commissioner.
Yes, sir.
Turnkey was the group who helped the Big 12 find Brett Yormark.
Yes, sir.
And I watched an interview yesterday that he actually did with the CEO of Turnkey to kind of, give perspective on all of these different things. There's a huge reason, like the biggest reason why Brett Yormark got hired at the Big 12 was they said that Turnkey likes to give all of their prospects for whatever hires or searches they're doing, give them a little homework assignment. What idea do you have to how could you improve the place that you're stepping into? And Brett Yormark replied back with, well, what if I have more than one idea? And they're like, that's fine. Bring more ideas to the table. Brett Yormark brought like 10 things. And he's like, I still have this list in my briefcase, and these are ideas that we've executed upon and introduced and are still working towards. And I'm trying to keep a commitment here. These are ideas I really think that could bring the Big 12, improve the brand, get buy-in, all that jazz, yada, yada, yada. I think it's really interesting that the Big Ten went with this company again to help with the search, and B, that it turned up someone like Petitti.
Yeah.
Because I'm in agreement with Stuart Mandel. You don't hire a TV guy if you're not done with TV. Like if you're not done with your TV deal. There's it could be me being a little bit optimistic here, whatever. But I don't think the Big Ten is done with expansion by a country mile now. They could have hired somebody like Jim Phillips, or I know there was another name that was an internal hire that would have kind of been the big signal that no, nothing's happening anymore. But this is way out of left field for a lot of people, and I like it. I think it's a good hire for the Big Ten. I'll be interested to see how everything else goes. The other thing I kind of wanted to talk about is the smoke around Colorado.
Yeah.
Just because I dabble everywhere. I've managed to kind of not ingratiate myself, but I've been chatting back and forth with a lot of Arizona peeps on the 247 board. And that thread, which is Jason Shear's board, popped off today. Somebody got some sort of information that They didn't tell us what it was.
I was alerted to it, but go ahead. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what the information is, but I was alerted to what you're about to explain. But go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So this guy who very consistently on the board has been a never Big 12er. This guy does not like the idea of moving to the Big 12, doesn't think anybody will ever do it. He changed his tune pretty quickly today when he shared this I have this information. It's changed my mind. And he even went as far as to be like, Jason, I want to share this with you to show you that I'm not BSing.
Yeah.
That this is legit. And Jason came out and corroborated it and said, yes, this information is legit. So
I didn't see that. I haven't read it, but that's interesting if Jason corroborated it.
Yeah, so so nobody knows what the information necessarily is.
Yeah.
But
do you have any speculation on what you think it is? Just a guess?
If I had to hazard a guess, the guy was at the airport. So that could be any number of things. So I'm assuming he ran into somebody.
Okay.
And being, I wouldn't know, like, unless I've seen somebody like an admin or somebody a lot of times on TV.
Hold on a second.
I wouldn't know who they are from Adam most days. But getting into the realignment spiel, I've seen more and more of these people. And I think that's where this guy came from too, that he ran into somebody and he said he got an interesting perspective on it. Because I guess he recognized somebody and they had a conversation. That's just kind of me reading between the lines of what he has said and what he is refusing to say up to this point. He's just like, I have receipts. When all this is said and done, I will provide said receipts so I can prove that I'm not lying. And he just posted something about 10 minutes ago. He's like, I'm just about to hop on another flight. Somebody's right in saying that I was excited, bursting at the seams to share this information with you guys. Not that I'm really still enthused about Arizona moving to the Big 12, whatever. But if that happens, he's like, I think it's a lot more likely that something does happen now than I did before. And that if it doesn't happen, it's because heavy and active negotiations are going on right now. Take all of that information for what you want.
Well, can I throw in a little bit of can I ask you a question? When this gentleman on the Arizona 247 message board, and I don't. First of all, let me backtrack a little bit. I don't automatically dismiss what is said on message boards because that is where I came from, guys. We broke you can read the Los Angeles Times article. Our first big story we broke was not USC to the Big Ten. We broke a big story on a Minnesota 247. So I don't automatically say, first of all, but let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Let's just speculate a little bit before we get to my speculation.
Okay.
This gentleman on Arizona 247, he was at an airport today. Was it today that it happened?
Yeah.
Let's say he ran into somebody at an airport today in Arizona. Was it today that it happened or was it yesterday?
Today.
Okay. Well, I'm going to throw this out. I think hold on one second. Let me see if I can can you hold on? Everybody hold on for a second.
We're holding on.
I just want to check.
I just want to check. You're good. And while we're holding on, we're gonna go and brew up a cup of our favorite Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters coffee.
Yes. Yes.
to drink in our favorite Cloak and Dagger coffee mugs.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find something here. I just want to make sure I received some. Hold on. Everyone give me a minute. I don't. I would. I'm wondering if he saw Robbins, Arizona president, coming back from Kazakhstan today.
I would not be shocked.
I have spoken to somebody and earlier today, completely separate from that story, and they thought that that he was supposed to come in last night, but it might have been delayed, so maybe it's later today or something. So I'm wondering if he saw Robbins, talking with somebody, heard something. I'm just throwing that speculation on top of that speculation, because it was either we received some information that maybe Robbins came back from Kazakhstan. Maybe he's back. He probably is back as of right now. So when did he go through that airport, and when did the Arizona guy go through the airport in Arizona? That could be what we're talking about. Allegedly. I don't know.
Allegedly.
Yes.
Allegedly.
Yes.
All I know is that as soon as he started talking about something, and that this is the other little bit that I'll share, and then I'll get off and let other people jump on.
Yeah.
Supposedly, this may be me reading into something, and it may not necessarily, correlation is not necessarily causation here. So, but he starts talking about this. He confirms it with Jason. Jason goes to his sources, confirms it, I guess, or goes to somebody else and starts asking questions. And then other people who have a history of being sourced, of having people in the know on the board, all start saying, I asked people questions. I was talking with somebody today, and then all of a sudden, silence, which is unusual. So, I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe somebody said something they shouldn't have. Maybe something. It's just apparently people are starting to clam up over at Arizona too. So.
Okay. Well, like I say, for those new to the channel, subscribe to this channel, because have you all noticed, PATC community, have you all noticed that these reports about Watch Colorado from Andrew Michon? Nobody's better than Andrew Michon, okay? When it comes, he says Watch Colorado. There's been other reports in Colorado. In Colorado, no words have come out of the University of Colorado. Nothing to shoot it down, nothing to bat it down. They're not saying anything like, we're still committed to the Pac-12, we're willing to give it some time. They haven't said a word. That silence is deafening right now, tonight, as we sit here, April 11th.
And then you also have to take into consideration that known pro-Pac people are now starting to talk, well, if Colorado does leave, it's not going to hurt Pac that much.
Yeah.
That is, you have Stuart Mandel and Bruce Feldman on their podcast together, and then Stuart Mandel separately on Benjamin Criddle's radio show on ESPN 960. They both say, yeah, we've heard that there's some smoke around Colorado going to the Big 12 as early as last week.
Yeah.
So holding on to some of that information. So there's more than people are willing to let on here.
Well, there's a lot of people are holding on to information. Everyone's trying to protect their sources right now, but I guarantee you, there's articles written up. Just if this happens, they're ready to go. There's been a lot of information for weeks on this, for months on this. There's people. First of all, there's people really upset about how the process even played out. There are so many angry people that that's why when we got this pushback on everyone's making this up, everyone's lying, they're not really talking to each other, there's no chance of it happening. I'm telling you, these reporters are holding back. They're holding back. They actually are. They're being really conservative about this. But thanks for the phone call. I appreciate you bringing up that Arizona information. A lot of cloak and dagger going on. May have been cloak and dagger going on in the Arizona airport. Great phone call. Thank you, sir.
Drink twice. Got to you guys later.
Wow, great phone call. Tony, tough Tony. Greg, did you see the story at Wolverine Wire? It's about Jim Phillips. You may find it interesting. Thanks for the hard work. No, I did not see it. Send it to me, direct message. And by the way, if I don't get to your direct messages right away, ladies and gentlemen in the PATC community, it's not because I'm ignoring your messages. It's just that my phone is just exploding. Okay, I'm going through the information. I'm trying to process it. We got BTM and his associates. I mean, there's so much stuff going on. So just hang with us. But yeah, I haven't read that. So send it to me, Tony. Direct message to me. Just let me quickly check my messages. I said tonight would be one of those nights where we're going to have to watch Twitter. We're going to have to be doing that tomorrow and the next day. Derek Myrie, thanks for coming in. The Big Ten knows what to do. Thank you, Faceless Man. I appreciate it. Yeah, we know Phillips signed an extension. We know that. We signed a 3-year extension with the ACC. Adam Vulture, Colorado can neither confirm or deny their rumors. I'm not sure why the phone system is not working. I'm getting a call, but it's not coming through. So let's start over here. Okay, give it another try. 763-260-1333. I refresh the page. Hopefully the call comes through. Elbow smash that like button. Redlegs. Jim Phillips would be a great hire for the Big Ten if they were looking for a commissioner to manage the conference. Petitti is brought in to nail Big Ten expansion.
Call from
Rebecca, go ahead.
Rebecca, I apologize if you were the one that was calling and we didn't get it. I had to refresh the page.
Oh, yeah, no, that was me. It's
okay, sorry about that. The floor is yours, Rebecca. What's going on in Washington? What's happening?
What the happening is?
What's happening?
Well, I think they spoke pretty loudly when they didn't fire their basketball coach 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
anybody wants to know, they didn't fire him, and they gave him another year because it's just cheaper to fire him next year. But also, I mean, they're like knee deep in softball, and that's kind of taken away like a lot of what everybody's up to. Up here in Seattle, specifically me, I went to UCLA. I went to watch them play the Bruins. Which was not a fun series if you're a Husky fan. No, it's been very quiet. The Colorado stuff today really popped off. I kind of heard that through the grapevine when I got up this morning because I had gotten a text. There's something's going down at Colorado, but nobody really.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I can't figure out what it is. Like, I don't know.
Well, it's them saying we want to go to the Big 12.
Pretty much.
That's, I think I think some of these presidents, again, we always go back to this. I don't think they've seen much of anything. They've seen numbers, but they don't mean anything. And I think some of them have just decided that it's time.
I mean, 3 presidents have seen everything. The other presidents have seen just bits.
Yeah.
So it's like, at this point, the 3 presidents that have seen everything are, 2 of them have been radio silent. The other one talks, but mostly about, he used to be at Kansas State, and of course he's on their message board still. So he's seeing all that stuff. No, like University of Washington president, she's been busy, not with athletic stuff fairly recently. She's had a lot of academic stuff that they've, like fundraising and stuff that she has, everybody knows school presidents and chancellors everywhere have to like raise money and stuff for research. So she's been busy doing that lately. Aside from the fact that she's occasionally jumping in on the Zoom meeting with Kliavkoff, she apparently does have a once a week meeting with Kliavkoff, all 3 of them. I don't know what happens to that meeting, but they have a little bit of an update. I do know, this is my little nugget of information, is I have a friend who's a lawyer for Apple. So I got a little bit of nugget there. I got a little bit of it. So he was telling me that essentially the PAC, like everything's going through the Apple's negotiator, which is like sale, like a salesperson. He's not a lawyer. He's like an executive almost. I'm not sure who that person is. I should have delved a little bit more and find out like what that person does. But essentially, like they present numbers, and then he brings it to the group, I should say. It's like multiple people. They bring it to the lawyers at Apple. Those people then it's basically, as he put it, he goes, we sit on it for a little while because we send them off to like accountants and stuff and see if the numbers work. And then they came back. Then they bring it back to him with a counter offer, and then they take it to the Pac-12, and then Pac-12 looks at it for a couple of days and brings it back. And so the Apple stuff is Apple's purposely dragging their knuckles on it. They don't really. For them, it's like if they'll get it, they believe that they're going to get it. They're just kind of trying to figure out. Everybody's trying to figure out what ESPN's doing as well. So throw that out there. They're going very slow purposely. They did it to the NFL, and the NFL was like, nah, we're good. We're going to go off. We're going to move on to like, the Sunday ticket stuff. They were like, nah, we're going to move on to the next one because they were just, it's Apple. They're the richest company on the planet. They can take their sweet time. But I did get that little little thing I heard through the grapevine that Apple wants the Pac-12. They just, like everybody knows, they want it at a price. But Apple's thing is Apple wants tier 1. They don't want tier 2. They want tier 1. They want to be, they and Amazon want the biggest game.
Because they want to sell subscriptions. That's what they're
Correct.
in for. So, yep.
Correct.
Yep.
And the other thing, what they're doing is, the other thing that's come out is that they're looking at future forecasts for the actual media market. For anybody who wants to know, yes, Oregon gets a ton of viewers. Oregon does not sit in a good media market, though. So as many viewers as they get, that's great. but it's not a media market. And apparently the media market that you sit in is where they get their subscriptions, specifically like in ESPN, who's potentially switching over to streaming. Like they're like creating their own streaming network. You know, as we all know, like they talked about that fairly recently, right? Like, was that like 2 months ago, Greg? That they kind of,
yeah,
like, so the media markets are doing it. So they're actually trying to forecast the markets themselves as to where they're heading. And basically they put everybody in their market, and the Bay Area, Stanford and Cal don't draw the viewers there, but what Stanford and Cal do draw is because it's so massive, like population-wise.
Yep.
It's not LA. LA is the biggest, like outside of New York, LA is just massive. You know, like their market reaches like the equivalent of 17 states. So, which is amazing because it's like 2 counties. But their market's just so big. But so
can I ask you a question,
growing.
Rebecca?
Yeah.
Do you know
Yeah.
anybody? Do you know any members of the Washington? I'm not saying do you know them personally. I'm saying do you know any of the backgrounds or personality type or reputation of any of the University of Washington board members?
I do know. I don't know any of them personally. I have met a couple. For anybody who wants to know, I'm a member of the Tyee Club. I'm technically a booster at the University of Washington. Technically, I do donate like $5-6 grand a year to the athletic department. Not small peanuts.
Yeah.
I also used to work in the athletic department when I was in college as an intern. So so I still know people.
So I'm just going to ask you. I'm being careful here. I'm just going to ask you a question. You may not be able to come up with a name, but I'm just going to throw it out there. If you can't answer it, that's fine. I don't expect 99.99% of the people to even give an answer at all. Do you know, would you, if Kase, the president, was talking to someone in the board, University of Washington's board, in relation to anything that has to do with, I get myself in trouble on this show, but I like, we're here for a reason, right? So, is there a board member, in your opinion, that President Kase would speak to, inform with, in regards to anything realignment when it comes to the University of Washington? Is there somebody in that board that she would lean on? There
are 2 that she possibly could talk to. I don't know. I personally don't know Dr. Tuesday at all. I've met her once briefly, but I've never actually interacted with her totally. But there are definitely 2 people that she would probably confide in, and they probably are very active. I can say. If you have a name, or 2, just throw a DM at me, okay? Okay, yeah. I'm trying to. I know. I think. You don't have to say any names right out loud. No. I'm saying. I think he would be. I'm just not 100%. I just, like I said, I don't know anybody in the university president's office. Dr. Coos, you'd have to know. I will say this: you would have to know her executive assistant, because if you talk to her executive, if anybody's got an inside source with Dr. Coos, it's her executive assistant. That's pretty much, I can tell you that. But I do know, I'm trying to beat around the bush here, Craig. Yeah, I am too. We'll talk offline. We'll talk offline, because things have come up. But anyway. Yeah. the quietness of Washington. I just want people to say this. The quietness of Washington, Oregon, Stanford, Cal should be deafening. And I know people are like, Stanford and Cal don't care about sports. They remodeled their stadium. Cal's getting paid by UCLA to leave because of their stadium subsidies that they had to do. So, Cal absolutely does care. Stanford does care. Stanford's extraordinarily proud that they have the most national titles out of every school in America. Like, I think UCLA is next on the list, but they do care. They absolutely, and I don't know how to, like, I try to say this to people. I'm like, as much as the Big 12 loves basketball and, it's become their thing, Stanford is that with the Olympic sports. Like, absolutely. Stanford and Cal want to dominate the Olympic sports because they know that's their niche. They're not going to be Alabama. They're never going to be North Carolina. They're not going to be, they're not going to be a UConn or a Tennessee. You can pick sports, so everybody knows which sports I'm talking about. And they're not going to be like, they'll never, like Stanford had wrestling. They're never going to be Iowa. They're never going to be like an Oklahoma State in that category. So for them, they want to dominate those little sports. I just like, I find it hard to describe the level. What people don't understand is that they do care, especially at Stanford. Stanford's scholarships are not what you would think of as a scholarship. It's essentially the John Smith Athletic Fund. Every single booster that pays into it gets a scholarship named after them. The players literally have their scholarship and they know who it's from because it's named after that person or that family. Like every single one of them.
Okay. All right, Rebecca, we got a lot of phone calls coming in.
I just want to get out there, Greg. I know where you're going.
Yeah.
I do want to say go Huskies and Colorado. I got a feeling they're gone. They're gone.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm going to get a hold of you a little bit later, okay?
Yep, hold there.
Thank you so much. Great call. Thank you, Sparsh M, for your generosity to this channel. Chance of Arizona State University, Arizona being the Big Ten of SEC long term. Phoenix is a huge market, and Arizona State has it. I think the Big Ten would have to go to 24 for that possibly to work out.
Call from
Western Civic calling from San Diego.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the name. Somebody from San Diego. The floor is yours.
Is this Mr. Flugar of the Golden Gophers of the Big Ten Conference?
Yes, it is, and we suffered a big championship loss in hockey.
Oh, my goodness, Mr. Flugar. It's an honor, and thank you. My name is, I'm Western Civic. I'm an attendee of both the University of Oregon degrees there and Utah.
Okay.
I've been making a lot of noise about what I know on your page, and I've been meaning to call and talk to you about something very specific pursuant to one of your videos a few days ago, and I just never got around to getting back to you on it.
Beautiful.
Boy, this stuff is really fascinating, isn't it? And I'm glad you're there, peek around the corner, because it's intriguing. I mean, this is the greatest dude soap opera to run the wire since. Look, couple things. First of all, it looks like we got Little running the big, huh? Mr. Petitti?
Yeah, Petitti, yes.
Yeah, so that's interesting. And then, look, I have a little information. I don't throw things out there too lightly, and I study this up. I mean, most of this stuff is actually public information if you really pay attention to what these people say. But if I had to guess about what's happening here, first of all, it's Phil Knight. I mean, and you know who broke this actually was Ohio State Insider. They broke it it was it's weeks and weeks ago now, but they came out and just said it. They said Phil Knight's been working it, and Oregon and Washington are going to the big. So now if that happens, that is the end of the pack for sure. But let's let's talk about a couple things from that point. First off, what's happened here with Warren is that we have a plan, and if you've been following my posts, I mean, we know what it is. We know what the Warren expansion plan. They're going to 25. It's going to be 3 mega conferences. We know who gets what, and you may dispute that or whatever, and it may not happen, but that was the Warren plan. But once they did this, the big presidents really got a hell of blowback from their colleagues in the pack, right?
Sure did.
How dare you know, just hella blowback to where it just became a threat to,
Yes.
the concepts of collegiality.
Yes.
And so what I think you're going to see is you're going to see a big chunk of them get taken. It's not going to be just 2. And I don't think and if Colorado's making a bunch of noise like everybody's saying, I'm sorry, my big Lubbockian comrades, but they're not going to the Big 12. They're going to the Big. Okay, they're going to take 6. And here's the mother point that I wanted to talk to peek around the corner about for a few days. It's been eating at me, and I just never got around. This is the big point. Because you, Mr. Pflugar, made a point. If the Big's going to go east again, well, they're probably going to go west too.
They got it.
And there's a lot of talk about, sure, I mean, you look at North Carolina, you look at UVA, you look at Georgia Tech, and the Big would love those. Those are right there. But here's the problem. If the Big goes south, that's it for parity with the SEC. There's no place for the SEC to go after that. So that can't happen. You're going to see the ACC, that's going away. These crazy, control freak, blood oath, let's take a university hostage contracts like we're seeing in the ACC and in the Big Lubbock, those are going away. But if you look at the candidates that really are Big and SEC candidates out of the ACC, there are really 9 of them. Okay? And the Big only gets 1, or they take over all of college athletics. And either that happens or they're going to be a subject of antitrust lawsuits forever. So the only one they get going east is Pitt. Everything else is from the Pac and Kansas. Okay? They're going to take 6, 8, or 9 at once. And that's because they're not going to leave a school like Colorado in a lurch like that. Colorado is a Big Ten monster research institution, second only really to Cal and maybe Washington, okay? And Oregon is in because of Phil Knight, and Phil Knight got this done. And Oregon, barely a big school, really, if you dig it. I'm a Duck. I love my Ducks. Don't get me, but we love it. Phil Knight, Uncle Phil, will ride him all the way, and we belong there.
Yeah,
we are Cracktown, but that's what you're. And I'm sorry, my big Lubbock fans. And that also, if this happens, this is happening now, then, the Pac had the other option of creating the 16-team Gulf to Pacific Conference, not to tread on the Great Plains Athletic Conference, the GPAC that already exists, of all those schools out there, some little ones out there. But hey, if you've listened to me this far, Mr. Pflugar, I am honored. I'm sorry I can't watch the video while I do this. I'm actually right out here on the beach here with a friend who's been kind enough to give me a little space here.
Why have you waited until now to call Peek Around the Corner, Western Civic?
Because the news of the little leading the big here. That's the big enchilada. But the other one I wanted to get is that point about geography. If you look at the map, okay, and you go to the super conferences, and this is the point that I didn't think you were getting in some previous discussions. I really want you to swallow this and look at the map yourself. And it's also goes to one of your other people who are asking some comments about Arizona. I want to touch on that too. But if you look at the map, if the big breaks into the South, there's nowhere for the SEC to go to keep parity. Okay, now Now the other one, there's another theory. Well, there is. Okay, if the big goes and takes North Carolina and UVA, well, then the SEC could make it up with the two Arizona schools. Okay, there is a model out there, but that's just horrible for the Arizona schools because they'd be the only ones out there. It's stupid. It's not going to happen. Okay, so all I expect, if the big moves west again, they are going to take all the Pac AAU schools. So that's all of them except Washington State, Oregon State, and the great sort of mystery one out there, that's Arizona State, which is a great property for somebody. And those three schools may end up in the Big Lubbock Conference. But please, guys, the Big Lubbock delusion that someone's going to jump over there first and that's going to start it. No, 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 no. There may be Pac teams that go to the Big 12, but that's going to be after the Lion, the little leading the big, comes and makes the kill, and then perhaps the Lubbuckian vulture will come and pick 2 or 3 off, along with Fresno and Boise. Okay?
All right.
That's the reality. That's the reality, and it's all about AAU, and then it's all about parity with the SEC or not.
Yeah.
We have to make a choice, because if the big goes south, then the big is college athletics, and they're going to end up running it all. Does the big want to do that? I doubt it. That's why you will see probably, you're not going to see a school like Colorado left in a lurch, and you're not going to see Colorado in the Big 12 and Colorado State in the Pac. Come on, guys. That's not going to happen. I love the passion out of the Big 12, but y'all are starting to make me nervous. You guys are getting crazy. Come on now. Anyway, hey, love the show, love the passion. You know. Hey, and let's all pray this doesn't get all thrown off because some idiot wants to start a war.
Okay, Western Civic, thanks for calling, and please call again. Okay.
Hey. You take care, Mr. Flugar.
All right,
respect
thank
to the
you,
Gophers.
Sir. Great Gophers. Thank you. Great call. Wow. Okay. So, that's how this show is. So many different callers, such diversity. Western Civic calls on in, says that the Big Ten is Colorado's not going to the Big 12. Colorado's going to the Big 10 because the Big 10's going to take about 8 or 9 more Pac-12 schools. Woo! All right. Western Civic.
Call from
Tristan 5.
Christian?
Tristan.
Got it. Tristan.
Yes.
Okay, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling.
Hey, thanks, Greg. How you doing?
Good.
Sorry about your Gophers in the hockey, man.
Yeah, that's I'm almost over it. I almost can sleep through the night. I'm getting closer.
Yeah, so listen, I wanted to just float an idea here. I know everyone's all hyped up over impending realignment moves, but we do have, everyone needs to remember, we do have a new playoff system coming in, and it's the 12-team model, and that's only for 2 years.
Yes, sir.
And what I think that might be potentially indicating, for all of us realignment junkies, is that I don't think all these moves are going to happen instantaneously. I think what's going to happen is that there's going to be some number of moves in the pack, and then probably some number of moves regarding ACC schools, but I don't think the final configuration of the conferences will happen for a couple more years. There seems to be like a hurry up and wait attitude in all of this, going back, to the Texas and OU move and then the USC UCLA move. I just don't think we're going to see, 6 teams all go at once into a conference. That just seems to be too much. But we have a period of about 3 years, and if you count the 4-team playoff coming up this year, and then we have 2 more years of 12-team expanded playoffs, I think the ultimate goal is to get to a 16-team playoff, and they're not going to announce that until all the moves have been made, and I think it's going to take a few more years for all the moves to be finalized. So yeah. I just wanted to throw that out there.
No, I agree. I mean, one of the hurdles that the Big Ten's looking at, if they're going to expand right now, is, I don't think Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, I don't think these schools are going to sit there and go, let's go to 17 and 18 schools before the SEC. Let's add some really good college football programs like Washington, Oregon. Yeah, let's add them while they think that the at-large bids are not going to expand in 2026. In other words, for the Big Ten to actually expand at this time once again with the 17th and 18th school, they better be of strong belief that the at-large bids in this 12-team playoffs for 2024 and 2025, that those 6 at-large berths grow to an 8, grow to a 10, or grow to a 12, right? I mean, really, They're not going to be for this unless that at-large bid pool grows. I got a feeling it's going to. I really think that's the strong sense. I think that's what everyone's thinking. So they may have that belief big enough to where they're going to actually be open to possible more expansion at this time. But that's just one of the hurdles for further Big Ten expansion right now for the Big Ten. So thanks for bringing that up. Go ahead with the phone call. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, yeah. So the other thing, too, is that I think once some pack moves occur, which I think is about to happen, obviously, with Colorado, I think the ACC is going to be next up, and we're going to start seeing some activity there, too.
Now, the ACC?
Yeah, out of the ACC. I think one of the very first teams to move, if not the first one, will be FSU.
Okay. Well, they got to challenge that Gore, and they got to win it in the courts first. So.
Yeah, well, it may not have to go that way, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
However, one of the I just wanted to mention this to you. I know that you've heard the name Regal Knoll out there on War Chant.
Yeah.
According to Regal Knoll, I'll just let everyone know this. The grant of rights is actually with ESPN. That's what he's claiming. So what that means is that a school trying to leave the ACC has to deal with the exit fee with the conference. That's between them and the conference. The grant of rights, as long as they honor that grant of rights, they can move wherever they want to go. That's what he's saying. So it would open the door potentially for ACC schools. If that's true, they would have to deal with the exit fee. But then, as long as they honor their grant of rights, which just means that ESPN gets to broadcast their home games, they're free to go where they want once they've done that exit fee.
Yeah, well, we don't believe that's accurate at all at Peek Around the Corner. The conference owns each individual media rights of the schools. It's with the conference, not with the ESPN owns the distribution license of ACC content, but they do not own the grant of rights. The reason why the conference is even asking for these schools media rights, ownership of these media rights, to strengthen their hand when they negotiate with an ESPN or Fox or with whoever. So I Rigo Knoll, I've read some of his stuff, but he usually brings in ESPN, and we differ. We differ on that quite a bit. Just to let you know.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. I know there's different opinions about all that.
Yeah.
And of course, no one has actually read the contract who's talking about it, right?
Yep.
So we don't know all the intricate details. But one other thing, too, I think that there's a scenario that could play out where UNC ends up in the Big Ten. And that is the scenario where if the SEC is willing to accept NC State, and then the Big Ten makes it known that they would only be interested in UNC, the decision makers in the state might decide that they want UNC to go to the Big Ten and NC State to go to the SEC, just to maximize the revenue, for the state universities. And I think that's a real possibility. And getting Maryland into the conference was, I think, a wise move, sort of establishing that mid-Atlantic presence. I think it almost feels like it's destined to be, UVA joining Maryland. And if you can get UNC into the Big Ten, that would be just almost a coup, really. That would be an amazing get for the Big Ten.
Yeah. North Carolina is definitely going to be a target for both Big Ten and SEC. Virginia, kind of a wild card, probably a target for the Big Ten if they can't get their first 3 or 4 targets in the boat. But yeah, we got a ways to go on that. It's going to be a few years down the line. We're going to hear more and more about Florida State, about Clemson, about North Carolina, about Miami, Florida, potentially one of those schools possibly challenging the ACC's grant of rights in the courts. And I expect if it to happen, I expect it to happen early in 2024. We've been saying that all the way since December 26th of 2022 when we received some information on Florida State. When we did a live show kind of on it. We had to stand down on it. We've done some shows after that talking about Florida State's options in challenging the grant of rights in the courts. But it's going to take a while. I mean, you go to court, it takes a while, and so we shall see. We shall see.
Yeah. Well, again, everyone needs to just remember the 3-year window that we're in.
Yes.
And I think that's the real target time period for having all the moves worked out.
Yep. Very good point.
So.
Thanks for the call, sir.
All right. Thanks a lot, Greg. I'll catch you later.
Appreciate it. Great call. Great call. Pro spammer. All I cares about is that WVU gets a spot in the big conference when this is all over in 10 years. Expansion is going to cut out a lot of big names. Consolidation is going to cut out some names. West Virginia. That's what Brett Yormark is trying to ensure. The Big 12 universities to be in the room in 2026 when the major decisions get made for college football.
Jim Brockoff.
Jim, thanks for calling, sir. The floor is yours. What do you got to say?
Thank you, Greg. Well, I actually got some questions for you.
Got it.
Or your opinion, at least. Money questions. If the Big 12 takes on 2 or 4, I'm assuming that since the contract runs out on the Pac-12 after the 23 season, they would join in 24. Is my assumption? Is that correct?
Yeah, the current, it's kind of different with the Pac-12. As I read it, Jim, the current, this is kind of weird. I might be a little off here, but as I read it, the current media contract ends July 1st of 2024, but the grant of rights doesn't end until August 1st of 2024. I know that's only 30 days apart, so it probably means nothing. But let's just say August 1st, 2024, the grant of rights and the contract are over. Current contract with the Pac-12. So go ahead with your phone call.
Well, then the Big 12 contract, new contract, does not start till 26, if I remember. So, or
2025.
Yeah, 25. So who's paying the bill for 24 if they add 2 or 4 teams?
Great question. And I think
and will they pay, I guess, or will they be going smaller until the new contract comes in? And I know, or at least I've heard, that ESPN will pro-rata their 2/3 of the contract.
This is a great question. Jim, I hope you don't mind, let me just back up a moment here.
No, you can do whatever. Yeah, no, you're a lot smarter than I am.
Well, but that's definitely not true. But let me back up a second. Andrew Marchand, this is what I was getting back. This is why I speculated. I have no intel on this. I have zero. So let me say the word allegedly. Let me do whatever I need to do so I don't get in trouble with anybody. I have no intel on this. But when Andrew Marchand said in the New York Post article, when he specifically said, watch Colorado, okay? When he said that, in terms of defections from the Pac-12 to the Big 12, he never does that. Or at least since I've been following him for a long time, he never does that when it comes to realignment stuff. I think he did it because somebody from ESPN with knowledge of the situation leaked to Andrew Marchand, again, this is my speculation, that there are now serious talks between Brett Yormark, Big 12, University of Colorado, and ESPN. So I think that's what this end game is all about. What does Colorado get? Do they get the pro rata? Do they get the $31.6 million? Do they get the full thing? Because Fox isn't tied. They don't have to pay the same amount to Colorado as they do the other Big 12 schools going into this.
Could.
They could, though. And they might say yes. Fox could very well say yes because they've got other motivations to possibly stab the knife again into the Pac-12.
I don't know if you remember. I don't even remember my previous calls, but I say ESPN and Fox are behind all of this.
Yep. So your question is, who's going to pay? It's going to be ESPN, and Fox is going to give at least something, right?
It's going to be negotiated, is what you.
I think that's happening right now, Jim. I think Andrew Marchand believes that's happening right now. Again, just speculation on my part.
I understand. That's my speculation too.
I think it's going on right now. As you and I are talking, those discussions are probably happening,
or fairly close to,
or being done. Yeah.
And I would imagine then the same with Gonzaga. If they come aboard, Fox is probably going to pay some of that money since they seem to want basketball matchups. Is that your opinion, or am I wrong?
What was that?
Well, Gonzaga. Someone's going to have to pay for Gonzaga if they come in. I'm assuming Fox.
I think Fox Sports will pay for that. Fox Sports wants Gonzaga into the Big 12. Without question, they will pay the freight for that to happen.
Do you know when the Big East basketball contract ends? Because I know there's supposed.
I believe 2025.
So.
Yeah, that's a
Fox property, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and that's playing into all of this. That's why Brett Yormark is working it, selling it, trying to close on it, trying to build, possibly get some Big East or at least some big-time brand basketball programs to join his huge, successfully basketball conference. So in front, he's cutting in front of the Big East, just like he did with the Pac-12 to consolidate the conference. To make sure that conference.
If it's all Brett Yormark or the TV commissioners or CEOs or planners telling him, all right, this is what we'd like done. Go do it. Yeah,
Hey.
sounds great. I'll go do it, you know.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt Brett Yormark's tight relationship with Fox, with these media companies, with these people,
Right.
that has helped them. And that's probably why the Big Ten got themselves a TV executive for the next.
Well,
Yep.
as a K-State fan, as a Big 12 fan, and I don't want to necessarily see the Pac gone, but he's been a breath of fresh air to the Big 12. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yes, he has. Yes, he has.
And I know one of your callers said that there's 7 teams from the Big or the Pac going to the Big Ten. I'm not sure who's paying for that either, but
No, yeah, I don't think so either. But on this channel, we can disagree with each other.
well, I understand. I have no.
Yep.
So all right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll get off
Great
the air.
call.
I appreciate. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Woo! Lot of great calls tonight. Holy cow. Kazakhstan, phone line is blowing up. I think Robbins is back home. I think he's back home.
Call from
Western Civic with an answer to that question.
Western Civic is back in the house. He's got an answer. Go ahead, sir.
Equal revenue sharing is done. Beyond the 32 legacy members of the Big and SEC, it's done. Everybody is going to bring and carry their own weight. None of the 7 Pac AAU schools is going to get an equal share beyond USC and UCLA. Cal and Stanford, Cal certainly may come close. Maybe they will get one. Maybe Washington will come close. But if you look at the market, they have everything except the market to match with some of these Big Ten numbers. So the answer is who's paying for it is, well, specifically in this case, Phil Knight is the answer for Oregon and so forth. And with that, I mean, I don't know to what degree he tried to protect the state schools. I don't think he could afford to. I don't think there's any way to protect Washington State and Oregon State. But none of the schools beyond those I mentioned are going to get anywhere near a full Big Ten share for a long time, if ever. I think these things are going to have to be revisited. The 32 legacy members, current members of the SEC and the Big Ten, that includes USC and UCLA, really, that's the nut right there. Everything else has kind of got to bring its own weight. So
Right.
thanks for letting me answer that.
Interesting. Appreciate it. Thanks for the call. All right. Western Civic comes in again. Says that everybody else that gets included into the Big Ten and SEC years down the line, none of them will ever get being fully invested members of the conference, or maybe they will down the line. We'll see. Interesting. I love the takes. Daniel Montecastle. My grandma has a crush on Brett Yormark. She thinks he's a good boy. Wow. To Mazda, I'm so glad the Big Ten got that commissioner stuff done, because the speculation of Yormark being poached can end for goodness sake. I absolutely agree with you. Rory says that low-ball ESPN number was with the exit hatch. The number with the strong gore was better, but still not great. Interesting. So what Rory is saying, that low-ball figure that ESPN offered the Pac-12 schools, it was a low-ball figure knowing that Oregon, Washington does not want to sign a grant of rights. It came with an exit hatch. If Washington and Oregon was willing to sign A Pac-12 media deal with a grant of rights, that number would go up. Chasino, your mark is a container of needed oxygen for the Big 12. Wow, what a unique way of putting that. Interesting. Let's go back. Hold on. Stuart Mandel, this evening, after receiving the news like we all did, that Tony Petitti is the new Big Ten commissioner, he put out a couple of tweets. The interesting thing about, this is Stuart Mandel, the interesting thing about the Big Ten hiring a former TV exec is that theoretically the TV stuff is behind them for 7 years. Unless, of course, they're planning to add more schools, cough, cough, Oregon and Washington, and need to package the other rights deal, the next rights deal sooner. Very interesting. Stuart Mandel, that was his take on it. And then his other tweet was, for a group of people continually claim that they don't want college athletics to become professionalized, university presidents sure seem to like hiring former pro sports execs as their commissioners. Look, even Kevin Warren, when he was in the chair, when he was the active Big Ten commissioner, he talked about the future of student athletes getting higher and higher compensation beyond NIL, beyond name, image, and likeness, getting bigger, larger compensation, higher level of compensation, and that's going to be coming from the schools and or conferences or both. Quasi-employees, they're going to become employees at some point, hopefully with a CBA, with a collective bargaining agreement in place. But that's Stuart Mandel's take.
Call from
Lewis.
Ooh, Lewis is in the house. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. Lewis, the floor is yours, sir.
Well, good evening. I'll open up with a couple of nuggets and give my best guess, not an insider, just speculation on where this could be going given all the news. First, with Colorado, when Coach Prime was announced a few months ago, there was something that stuck out with me that I've never forgotten, and that is the athletic director said, well, we really don't have the money to hire Coach Prime, but that's not a concern to us. Meaning they had to tap, I'm guessing, some donors to come up with the money to hire Coach Prime and make a significant investment in the football program, which is paying off early on because they have a sellout and ESPN coverage on April 22nd for their game. Well, when that happens and you bring in someone of his personality, and you also have boosters that have now invested some money, apparently, in the football program that's been dormant for 15, 20 years. Because I'm old enough to remember, maybe you are as well, the early 90s when Colorado was one of the top 5 programs in the country.
Yes, sir.
Mid-95.
Yes,
and,
sir.
So that tells me that even though perhaps a year ago when all this started, or in July, Colorado was a situation where the elite academics kind of controlled things, even though they lost their title L.A., that perhaps the winds have shifted. Maybe not, but that could perhaps be why things have shifted. There's a different calculus going on there. And then the second issue is it's very ironic to me that an ESPN reporter, an ESPN, the network that has no relationship with the Big Ten going forward at this point, is the one that broke the news about the commissioner, and not someone from one of the networks they're partnering with. It was Pete Thamel at ESPN, and getting all the credit. So that leads me to wonder if a couple of things. If ESPN, if there is potential expansion, because that was the question I asked immediately, we all asked, what does this hire mean for expansion?
And again, given this gentleman's background, it would appear that there is a likelihood of some potential expansion. Incrementally, I don't think anyone's adding 6 schools at one time, as was speculated. I think everything happens still a couple at a time over time. But there's likely going to be at least another look at it with a TV executive involved, and they need to get a TV deal that works, maybe with ESPN, because it would be smart for the Big Ten to have a relationship with ESPN. They still control so much of the narrative in college sports. Fox has a big play, and NBC and CBS will, but maybe that's what that creates. Again, just speculation on my part, and perhaps that gets Oregon and Washington there.
Now, wait, just let me. I don't mean just let me add something to the fire that you got going on right now, Lewis. Remember this as well. Pete Thamel was the one who broke the news right tonight about the new Big Ten commissioner. He was also the one who said first the phrase that we used to always use here at Peek Around the Corner: the Big Ten expansion door is cracked open. He was the first one to say it a month ago or 6 weeks ago. Yes. And he also said, which we have been just trying to make it so clear to everybody, Pete Thamel also said in public in an article that Kevin Warren was a big, I'm paraphrasing it, I'm not getting the exact words, but Kevin Warren was a big hurdle for further Big Ten expansion. And I'm telling you, you don't have to believe us out there, but we got people telling us this. Big Ten, BTM and his associates. So yes, Pete Thamel, pretty interesting. Lewis is connecting the Pete Thamel dots. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Again, go ahead. The floor is yours.
No, understood. So that's Pete Thamel. So, because if I'm the Big Ten, you want to have a relationship with ESPN College Game Day. Being shut out, it might be what happens, but if they're able to add a couple of schools, ESPN could pay the Big Ten, assuming Oregon and Washington would be willing to come in at a portion share, which has been reported, and it would make sense given where the Pac-12 is. ESPN could probably buy some package with games, a small number of games in the Big Ten involving the West Coast schools, as well as pay the pro ratas of the Big 12 to add some schools in the West for cheaper, or at least about the same as what they might have to buy for the Pac-10. But then you're getting some Big Ten content in that package, not just Pac-12 content. You're getting 2 national products. People want to see West Virginia or Cincinnati against Arizona if that happens, or against BYU. I mean, East-West, that plays better for the ratings to get multiple regions of the country involved. As opposed to 2 schools from the same region of the country, other than the SEC. The SEC, that's a whole different matter. The SEC has enough strong brands they can survive. They've been national for 30 years, but the rest of the conference, you have to have that. So I think what's going to happen, I would not be shocked, because this is all speculation. I'm not an insider. The big April 22nd, Colorado spring game, I wouldn't be shocked if something happens, if it's going to happen at all, between now and then. And maybe between now and then, Kliavkoff pulls the proverbial rabbit out of the hat with the TV deal, and they stabilize. And if he can do that and get 27, 28 million a year, get within 15, 20% of the Big 12 number, maybe 25%, I think they stay. Barring that, I wouldn't be shocked if Colorado has a decision to make in the next 10 or 12 days, probably not this week, but perhaps next week, and Arizona. And I think that's where it would stop, because nobody wants to go. Just like I watched the Big East die as a Big East fan, it died incrementally. A couple shots here, a couple shots there. It wasn't all in one fell swoop. The Big Ten actually put the last bullet in when it took Rutgers and Maryland at Louisville, then went to the ACC. That's sort of what killed the Big East. It's a football conference. So I think it'll be incremental. I think after the first 2 teams going to the Big 12, it will be Washington and Oregon to the Big 10 at some point. I don't know the exact time frame. And then the Big 12, we'll have to see if they want to add 2 more schools or not. If so, it's some combination of Arizona State, San Diego State, maybe even Connecticut. I think that's kind of crazy, having watched Connecticut football before, but I would not be shocked. And maybe they don't. Maybe they stop at 14. But I think you're going to see at least those two conferences make a move this year, and then in 2 or 3 years there will be some movement potentially with the ACC, and I do worry about whether my alma mater Duke gets left out altogether, which is a distinct possibility, or maybe they're able to latch on again to the Big Ten. But that's down the road. That's where I see things going. But again, I could be completely wrong. It goes back and forth. But this news, the Big Ten's hiring a commissioner this quickly is saying something. Also, Colorado. If I'm involved with Colorado and I'm baked in with the Big Ten, or excuse me, the Pac-10, the Pac-12, I'm saying something. I'm getting something leaked out to somebody in the media out there.
Yeah.
I'm not just going silent. Why are they being so daggone quiet?
Yes.
And why hasn't Kliavkoff come out and given a press conference in 2 months? He's worse than that Russian premier from the 80s that never was available. You got to make yourself available and be the face of the conference, and he's not. So it would be a real shock. It could happen. It could happen. The Pac-12 could pull a miracle, could pull a Hail Mary, but nothing is trending their way, and they are not doing anything that would indicate that they're going to survive this. And have a good evening, Greg.
Thank you.
Great show. Thank you.
Incredible call once again. Lewis is bringing it like always. Holy smokes. Daniel, thank you so much for your incredible generosity tonight and always to this channel. Thank you, Daniel Monacasso and Miss Monacasso, for your generous donation. Daniel, I'm probably giving you another phone call tomorrow. DM me. Let me know when you're available for a phone call. Get the okay from your wife. But thank you again, sir, for your generous, very generous, helping us keep the lights on here at Peek Around the Corner. We're a completely independent college football YouTube channel. We do not have memberships. We can't have that here. It doesn't work because whatever information we got, we're going to forward it to you all as fast as possible. So thank you so much, Daniel. In regards to Lewis, one thing, he says, maybe he doesn't believe it, but maybe a miracle happens and George Kliavkoff pulls a rabbit out of the old hat. You know what? The best case scenario for the Pac-12, as we see it here on April 11th, the best case scenario is George Kliavkoff pulls the rabbit out of the hat, gets a TV deal for all the Pac-12 presidents to sign, but it doesn't happen for a couple more months. That's the problem. They're not even close, and you see the report saying they're months away because they have nothing. And if they get something, it still takes a while to get it to the point where the Pac-12 presidents can hash it out. They can figure it out. I mean, they don't even have any more time to even get a good deal anymore. I think that's the pressing point of the whole thing. And then Lewis says, and he's absolutely correct, if Colorado is not in the deep weeds on negotiations with the Big 12 right now, and with ESPN and with Fox, if Colorado is not really, really, really deep in negotiations, why don't they say something? They can say something. They can say anything from, we're not there yet, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, we're looking at options. We need to do best for the University of Colorado, but we're not there yet. We're just looking at things. Yes, we've talked with people. They haven't said nothing. And when you don't say anything, when you're completely silent publicly, what are they saying privately to the other Pac-12 presidents? Probably nothing, actually. But look, we are at a time and period, well, we mentioned it, February 24th at Peek Around the Corner, we finally flipped the odds to say, yes, the favorite now is the Pac-12 gets poached again. February 24th. It took us until February 24th to finally say that. You know how long ago February 24th has been? It's been 6 weeks. 6 weeks ago. For the last 6 weeks, we believe that the Pac-12 is about to get poached. That's the favorite of what's about to happen. because of everything we've heard at Peek Around the Corner. It is desperate times. It's hurtful times because these schools want to stay together. But some of them feel like they're being forced out because the deals they're getting is so bad. The leadership of the Pac-12 is so bad, and the changing landscape of college football is changing the dynamics between schools with commonality. I absolutely agree with those who say that the Pac-12 schools do not want to leave each other, that being with each other means a whole heck of a lot. We've been saying that at Peek Around the Corner. Since day one, we completely understand that argument, but there has always been more to the story. There's always been more to the story of just, no, there's been no school that has ever lived a conference to another conference that is less academic, whatever. Okay, fine. Bring out 3 more charts to say the same thing. That's fine, but there's always been more to the story. And if you want the story, you got to take it all in. You got to take it all in, brothers. You got to take it all in, sisters of college football. Thank you, Danielle.
Call from
Moen Vision.
Mona Vision, Mr. Buckeyes in the house. The floor is yours, sir.
Good evening, Greg.
Good evening.
Has the weather let up there in Minnesota yet?
Yeah, the snow's melting. We've had some good weather. Everything is fine. I haven't gotten over the loss yet, but everything is good. Thank you, sir.
Glad to hear it. Interesting hire. You pointed out that he's television. He's got some experience in television.
He's got huge.
He also has experience in digital distribution.
Yes.
Working with Activision Blizzard, which is the largest game company subscription-wise in the world. So he definitely has some experience in digital distribution as well, which could play into streaming or a service like Big Ten Plus, obviously better than Big Ten Plus, but a service like that to expand the Big Ten's footprint as well. And I do believe with the higher expansion has to be back on the table. I certainly don't think that the Big Ten is going to take 9 or 6 Pac schools. The only ones that have any value to them right now is Oregon and Washington. And then later on, maybe a Cal or a Stanford, depending. But, yeah, I don't think they take that many out west, unless they're just completely abandoning the idea of taking anybody from the ACC or Notre Dame.
Yes, sir.
Yep, that's just all I wanted to say, Greg.
Yeah.
It was an interesting hire.
Yeah. It shocked me. The hire shocked me, and Kevin Warren. The hire of Kevin Warren shocked me when that happened. I did not think it would end up this quick, and I did not believe it was going to be a TV executive unless it was Mark Silverman. So, but yeah, this guy, man, he's got all the experience in the world, day-to-day operations, digital distribution, everything. Wow.
Right. Now, what I did have a question, Greg. How is the commissioner, is that put as a vote to the presidents, or is that just kind of handled on the corporate level?
No, that's a vote for the presidents. They're the ones who hire them.
Interesting. So that's even more interesting that the presidents would look for a guy in television. So
yeah, and that was the question I had when we started the show. What was it? What was it that Tony Petitti said to these college presidents for them to say that's our guy, that's our person to be the next Big Ten commissioner? What was in his background, but what did he what did he say in those interviews that they would go in that direction? They did not go with a former commissioner, with a current commissioner, with a longtime athletic director. They went with this guy, Mona Vision. This guy.
Well, and with the recent, just really recent news that Jim Phillips signed an extension, that shows you that Phillips was also one of the final candidates. Because as soon as he knew he didn't have that job, he was signing that extension.
Yeah.
So he had to have come up with a better vision than Phillips did, and Phillips would have been more of the management guy. He could do the bells and whistles and keep the trains running on time. But obviously, this gentleman has shown them a vision, which I think is really important for the conference moving forward. So I do think that probably for the 2024 season will be an 18-team conference. As much as I'd like Notre Dame to be in there for the 2024 season, that might wait till the 2025 season. And the Big Ten will have Oregon and Washington to round out their West Coast pod for the time being. But it's going to be fast and furious coming up here, Greg, because these things are popping off fast. So everybody better stock up their cabinets with Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters coffee, tequila, whatever you're drinking, because Colorado possibly jumping, Arizona State, new commissioner hires, no Pac-12 media deal yet. So many Pac-12 media partners that have been put out there. At some point, I think I'm going to be a Pac-12 media partner.
Yes.
You're going to be a Pac-12 media partner that they're going to enter negotiations.
Do our watch parties, Pac-12 football games.
Yeah. It's crazy how many media partners have been associated with the Pac-12 at this point. But just strap in, keep your head on a swivel, guys. Cloak and dagger.
Yes.
It's all going to happen fast. I'd say by June 30th, this thing is going to be all wrapped up, and the Pac's looking at a backfill. The Big Ten's looking at 18 teams.
And
I think
we can finally get
I think the Big 12's going to be at 16.
We can finally get a football schedule, for 2024.
Well, and then there's a question, Greg, do they go away from divisions if they move to 18 right now? Do they just make 2 9-team divisions?
Oh, I don't think they'll make 9. If they went to 18 schools, there's no way they'd go to 19 divisions. Now, some people are going to speculate they go to 3 16 divisions and then have a wild card for a semifinal weekend.
At that point, you're going to what, 10 conference games?
Yeah, but
and then kind of doing a ranked seeding for that last.
If they go to 18 schools, I still think they stick with one conference, and the scheduling gets easier to do. It just does. It really does. I've tried to do a live show on it. I've threatened to do another live show on it or an episode on it. But the scheduling actually gets, you can get those 4 teams, Oregon, Washington, UCLA, and UCLA. You have those as your permanent rivals. Okay, you get 3 of those, each of those schools. The other 3 are their permanent rivals. You take the Nebraska, Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin pod. Those are your 3 permanent rivals. You take the next pod of Indiana, Purdue, Northwestern, Illinois. Those are your 3 permanent rival pods. And then the other 6 Big Ten remaining schools, and out in the East, you get 3 permanent rivals out of that. That's a 16 pod. It doesn't quite work as nice as the other ones, but it's easy to work out. Those are your pods. So you play your games more in your region. Okay. I'm not just talking football. I'm talking basketball, right? UCLA will now have 6 out of their 20 basketball conference games within the same time zone, right? If they go home and away with those 3 teams. Now they have 7 home games left, 7 away games. It's just, if you go through all the sports, it gets easier for scheduling if you do expand with Oregon and Washington. The options become more. And And I think the TV value. I mean, if you bring in a Washington and Oregon, if someone's willing to pay the freight, look at it from CBS's point of view, Monovision. Some weeks CBS is going to have the third best game on the schedule, okay? I think NBC and CBS are going to alternate 2 and 3s. It sounds like once in a while, those two networks are going to get the best Big Ten game. It sounds like it. We haven't seen the complete details of that contract, but that's been put out there. But whatever. Let's say CBS is thinking, okay, we're going to get the third best game every week. They look at a potential 2024 schedule. You added Washington and Oregon. Again, that adds depth to the high value games during the week. That may boost the numbers just enough to say for CBS to go, okay, $350 million a year. Big Ten's doing a good faith negotiations with us. If we include Oregon and Washington, 2 big brands. Oregon's a big brand for football. Okay, maybe we'll up that to $375 a year. Okay? So I think it's possible, Monovision. I think the doors.
Not only that, Greg, like I said, the Big Ten was cutting edge when they made the Big Ten Network. I could easily see them doing an add-on service and selling it to someone like Peacock, like the WWE does with their network, where they'll say, we'll give you this contract, and then after the games are aired, you can do on-demand reviews of the game, all kinds of programming that they could put in there that are not necessarily live sports, but then they could sell it to a partner like a Peacock, like a Paramount Plus, like a Hulu, like an Amazon, where, just a thought. I do think, I'll just wrap it up, let some other people call. But
Got it. Thank you.
I think Oregon and Washington are going to be there by June 30th. So.
Got it. Thank you. Great phone call. Greg. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Lewis, for the super chat donation. I appreciate you so very much. Thank you for your generosity. Conference realignment never dies, but will pause for a couple years for Gold Rush of 2026. But where I predict we will be down to a P4, then the next round involving ACC will begin.
Call from
Wild Ute.
Wild Ute is in the house. Mr. Utah man. The floor is yours. What do you got to say, good sir?
Great calls tonight.
Yes.
So far.
Always. Yes.
Really good stuff. Really good stuff. I haven't listened to all the show, just heard the last few calls, so I'm not sure if anyone's had this take yet. But what I do know is life's all about timing, right?
Yeah.
Timing.
Yes,
timing. Isn't this timing kind of curious?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. yeah. It blew me away.
About this, right? Yeah. So CU and U of A, there's so much smoke, almost fire about them jumping over to the Big 12.
Yeah.
The Big 10 wasn't going to hire a commissioner until May or later.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this happens, seemingly out of nowhere.
Yeah. It's a TV
it's
executive.
Very, very interesting, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What I think this is actually a lifeline. I think this is a lifeline to the pack. I think that my new guy here, Dodd Petitti, is actually the voice of stability for the Big Ten.
He could be. Okay.
Yeah. And I think that actually this is going to stabilize the pack because I don't think there's going to be any additional expansion. I think that it's going to be more of just a calming effect over the Big, and the expansion is going to cease for at least a couple of years. And I think this actually is going to give I think this is going to give Oregon and Washington the information they need to make the decision to stay in the pack.
Okay.
Oregon and Washington right now think that they basically have big invites on the way, and I think that this is actually going to suggest that hey, they don't, and stay in the pack. We'll look and reevaluate everything 3, 5, 7 years down the line. So I think this is actually stability.
Now,
so this is really a lifeline in my view.
Okay, did you read Stuart Mandel's tweets tonight?
Will you remind me?
Okay, I'll put it up on the screen. Do you have your mobile phone or anything? You can see the screen.
I don't, but
okay, I'll just read it. I'll just read it to you real quick here. And again, it's just him throwing out his first thoughts on the hire of Mr. Tony Petitti. He says, for a group of people, Big Ten presidents, for a group of people who continually claim they don't want college athletics to be professionalized, university presidents sure seem to like hiring former pro sports execs as their commissioners. And then he said this. The interesting thing about the Big Ten hiring a former TV exec is that theoretically the TV stuff is behind them for 7 years. Unless, of course, they're planning to add more schools, cough, cough, Oregon and Washington, and need to package another rights deal sooner. That was his first thoughts on the hiring of Tony Petitti.
I would push back on that, and here's why. Aren't we in this terrible media negotiation environment right now?
We sure are.
Isn't that what we've been saying over the last 6 months to a year?
And
if
that
that's
is
true.
Yes.
Then really, I don't know if that has much bearing right now. If that's not true, and it really is just the desirability and demand factor that's really driving everything here, then that probably is true. But I mean, I'm going under the assumption here that really we're in a poor media environment. Not a lot of companies, ESPN, Fox, are going to want to pony up more dough right now. So I don't know.
That's
maybe,
a great point.
Maybe there is a linear aspect to this where Amazon wants to get in with the big or something. I mean, I guess that could be a component here. But I mean, why would the big jump at this time in this poor media environment?
Yeah,
if it was growth right now.
That's probably the biggest hurdle, is what you just said, this media market for further Big Ten expansion. Now that Kevin Warren's walking out the door because Big Ten presidents didn't want him to be a part of another expansion, those stories will be written here pretty soon, I believe, out in the public. And of course, another big hurdle is the incentive. What is it in for Big Ten schools for there to be more expansion at this time? They can be told stuff like well, if the Big Ten's going to expand east at some point, they're going to have to push out west, and maybe this is the best time. But really, these Big Ten presidents are thinking, for now, what's best for my university now? These athletic directors are thinking, what's best for my university now? So what is the incentive for them to expand further when they aren't even quite sure what the playoffs are going to look like in 2026? You bring up a great point. The media market,
there's mass
recession.
Uncertainty too.
Huh?
Yeah, I mean, just think about this too. I mean, think about if CU and U of A jump over to the Big 12, it really puts the rest of the schools in the pack in a huge jam, of course, right? I mean, you really the conference almost is gone by then. And like we've talked before, maybe the ACC is in play there. Maybe the ACC is in play for Oregon and Washington at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of different things that could be going on. So all
not
that
cloak
to say,
and daggers,
maybe this right. There's a ton of them, and what if this is really a lifeline to say, hey, we're not going to expand right now, but and just giving that information to Oregon and Washington, so Oregon and Washington can try to regroup everyone in the pack to sign a deal.
You know what, Tony Petitti. Am I saying his name correctly anymore? Tony Petitti. Petitti or is it Petitti?
I like the Petitti.
I think it's Petitti. Tony Petitti. Tony Petitti is going to have a press conference, right? Real soon. He's going to get up in front of the mic, and one of the first questions going to be asked is, what are your feelings? What's your vision on Big Ten expansion? And he's going to give the answer. And we're going to learn a lot, and what he says, how he says it, how boldly he says it. We're going to learn a lot. That's going to happen pretty soon. I would expect that news conference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Greg, thanks for your time. I'll let somebody else jump on.
Great. Fantastic phone call. Thank you, Wild Dude. Mr. Utah, man, in the house. I'm sorry, I didn't get the name there. What's the name?
Larry Pilgrim.
Oh, Larry, nice to hear from you, sir. The floor is yours.
Hey, Greg. So, when talking about expansion and everything involved there was a video a guy did. I think it was his video. His YouTube channel is D4360. I don't know if you've seen that video.
No.
Where he did.
Okay.
He did the viewership from 2015 through, I believe it was 2021.
Okay.
And he took the ACC, Pac-12, and the Big 12, minus USC, UCLA, Texas, and Oklahoma. And the ratings were Oregon and FSU were kind of right there at the top. And then Washington was next. And then I believe it was Oklahoma State, then Utah. Then Clemson was kind of in there too, within the top 5.
Okay.
But like we're talking about expansion and stuff like that, and when you look at the average viewership, I mean it's not what everybody thinks it is. Everybody's going, okay, North Carolina is this great ad, but if you look at their TV ratings, and actually even this last year, they do bad. But I know the Big Ten gets a subscription fee.
Yeah.
And I believe the ACC does, and I'm not sure about the SEC. So the Big 12 and the Pac-12, their markets, they don't get the subscription money, especially the Pac-12's not even getting subscription money for direct TV. So they're even further behind.
And Big 12 doesn't get, Big 12 get flat fees, flat payment from ESPN Plus. So their money, what they get in revenue from ESPN Plus is not tied to ESPN's growth in subscription. The ACC network is tied with ACC schools. SEC network is tied with SEC schools. Big Ten network is especially tied with Big Ten schools because those Big Ten schools actually own a slice of the Big Ten network. But the Big 12 does not. They just get a flat payment, and that's it, no matter what happens with ESPN Plus with their subscriptions.
Right. Well, I've heard that as soon as like the ACC or the Big Ten adds a new area, which is where the Big Ten is going to make a lot of money, is since now they have teams in Los Angeles, they're going to get that. The same reason they took Rutgers. And so right now, I mean, it's just, is the Big Ten just adding the largest media markets? I mean, it doesn't seem to have to do with a lot other than that at this moment. So when you're saying, okay, North Carolina's a grab, I think they've got a big market.
Yeah.
Obviously, anywhere in Florida, if they could grab any of those teams.
Yep.
Well, but the ACC's off the table
for now. Yep.
For a long time.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, I don't see a lot moving. And this Colorado to the Big 12, who's going to pay Colorado the extra money? Because the pro rata is only $20 million. Is ESPN going to pony up an extra 10 or Fox?
Well, I think
Colorado.
I think. I mean, Fox is going to put some money into the till, I think. And again, it's Fox is not really in deep discussions with the Pac-12. It's less expensive for Fox to get a little bit more content. Just adding Colorado and somebody else to the Big 12 versus doing the whole contract with the Pac-12.
Right, because what are they gonna air?
Yeah, and it helps ESPN. So there's a lot of different variables. There's a lot of different motivations at play too.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. When you look at the average viewer since 2015 of ACC, Big 12, Pac-12, three of the top 6 or 7 are in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Washington, Oregon, and Utah are all there, and then
Sure.
I believe Oklahoma State and TCU. So I mean, the numbers are there as far as viewership. So I don't know what's going on, and maybe Wild Ute was correct. You know, if Washington and Oregon was settled, I don't think anybody's jumping.
Okay.
Because
You could be right.
No disrespect to the Big 12.
Yeah.
But I don't know anybody in the Pac-12 that would rather play the schedule, including all those teams in the Big 12, over Oregon, Washington, Utah, Arizona State. No disrespect to the Big 12, but Texas Tech, Iowa State, Cincinnati, USF, they don't, you know, Baylor and TCU they're great brands, so is Oklahoma State. But outside of that, I just don't see the appeal, to be honest.
And when you circling back to your discussion on the value of Colorado, one of the things that Colorado might be thinking is our value is to be the first one that jumps, right? I mean, if they're the third school that jumps, they might not bring enough value to the Big 12. So it might be what you're hitting upon is, what does Colorado really bring the Big 12? Well, to be the first one adds value, right, to the Big 12. It adds the potential of someone else jumping from the Pac-12 into the Big 12, i.e. Arizona, probably.
Right, but you know who the lowest viewership has been in 2015 and on in the Pac-12?
Sure.
Which two teams it is?
Colorado and Arizona. But do they present more value to the Big 12 because they're opening up a different window for Yormark to deliver to his current media partners? You know, a value of a school doesn't always consistently stay the same. Sometimes it changes, depends on what conference they're in. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Rutgers. Rutgers brought a lot more value to the Big Ten than they would have had in other conferences, right? Because the Big Ten had the structure of the Big Ten network, all those cables, you know, so on and so forth. Same thing with Colorado. They may bring a better value to the Big 12, first of all, because they'd be the first Pac-12 school to jump. It gives ESPN and Fox less incentive to actually do a deal with the Pac-12 than they have now. I'm just bringing up these possible points.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, like I've said before, I would like streamers to get involved, and I would like it to become a lot more people involved, because it's obvious Fox directed the move of USC and UCLA, in my opinion. Because they knew, I mean, what was the talk? Oregon? The Big Ten supposedly wanted Oregon and USC, and Fox said no, UCLA.
I don't believe that to be true, but
okay.
Yeah. I do know, and I've said this before, you can take it however you want it. We've said this before, but Fox Sports, they're not going to pay the freight for further Big Ten expansion, but they're definitely not the hurdle. There are other hurdles out there, but Fox Sports is definitely not the hurdle for Big Ten expansion of taking Washington and Oregon. Fox Sports would be... Yep.
Okay, say the Big Ten gets together and they're like, okay, well, Amazon's on board to bring in the 40, 50 million each for, say, Oregon and Washington, but it's going to be on streaming. Oh, and by the way, Minnesota, you're getting put on the streaming because Oregon and Washington pull the ratings.
Yep.
how's that going to make you feel?
It might not. And that new commissioner is going to have to swing the votes. Going to have to get Minnesota on board for that to happen. As a Minnesota Gopher fan, I would say there better not be more than one Gopher football game on that Amazon deal, right? And there shouldn't be. And there shouldn't be because there's enough schools out there. But these when the most underreported story, I believe, during the SEC media negotiations, when they went from CBS to ESPN, when ESPN now has SEC's Tier 1 rights after this season, when SEC, we still don't know how much money SEC's paying we still don't know how much money ESPN is paying the SEC. We know it's over $300 million. It could be $400 million. But in that package of games was, the Tier 1 games, 13, 14 games a year. SEC gets, ESPN gets the top game. Of course, they have all the SEC games, but they took it away from CBS. Also within that deal, each SEC school, all of them, including Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, not only do they each have to play a game on the SEC network, and that's always been true since the opening of the SEC network. Now each one of those SEC football teams have to play a football game on ESPN Plus. So Alabama fans have to go to ESPN Plus for one game and the SEC network for another game. So when you start getting into these big money, right, these big deals, these schools have to kind of say, okay, we'll give up more of this, more of that for us to get the money. So if Amazon is willing to pay this big check to pay the freight, maybe a Illinois, a Minnesota, Purdue will bend at the knee and say, yeah, we're going to be on Amazon this year, But you're right. It's a hard. If there's an opportunity, can the Big Ten commissioners swing the votes to get it done? We shall see. But the door's open. We believe the door's open. It's cracked open.
Well, appreciate you taking my call.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Great call. Okay. I think we're going to wrap it up. We've been on the air for 2.5 hours. We thank you so much for joining us in this live show. Before you leave, please subscribe to our channel, smash that like button, and then share the video with your family and friends. But make sure before you leave, this is a message I want to send out. Keep your head on a swivel. Keep your eyes and ears open, because we could be popping up at any time. This is a very sensitive time in college football. For the Pac-12, it's universities, Colorado, Arizona. There's so much smoke. Of course, there's fire. Things are not done until they're done, right? So, but keep your head on a swivel. Stay close with us here at Peek Around the Corner. We love having you all in, the great phone calls. This community is growing. It's exceptional. It's elite. The phone calls we get, the dynamics within the chat room, the cloak and dagger. Drink responsibly. Drink your Diet Coke responsibly. So hang with us here at Peek Around the Corner. We will be, most likely, be popping up sometime tomorrow. So until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.